Hello, everyone. Welcome to Career Pathways in Microbiology. My name is Shilpa Gadwal. I'm ASM staff here in the Education Department. We're very excited to have you join us today. The purpose of today's webinar is to bring awareness to different careers in microbiology in hopes that you find a career that interests you. Before we begin, I want to go over a few housekeeping matters. We are recording the presentations for each of the presentations, and we'll post it on ASM's YouTube channel. At any time when you have questions, please enter them into the Q&A box at the bottom in the Zoom toolbar, and the moderator will get to them after the presentation. Today, we have three speakers who work in industry and biotechnology, and Lauren Saunders as our moderator. So let's begin.
Okay, thank you all for attending, and hopefully this will be a really good session for everyone here. My name is Lauren Saunders, and when I'm not moderating ASM talks, I am a field applications manager at Ceres Nanosciences. But today you're going to hear from three different people in industry, and we're going to learn about their journey and what they do. So we're starting today with Alex Scott. Alex, you can go ahead whenever you're ready.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Lauren. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Is everybody able to see that and hear me okay?
Yes, that looks good.
Okay, perfect. So like Lauren said, my name is Alex Scott, and I am a process development scientist at Pfizer, and I'll be going over sort of my career pathway and what I do here at Pfizer. So I'll start kind of by giving an introduction on background. So I'll give you my education kind of timeline and some experience that I have. And then I'll follow that kind of by outlining a typical work week that I, on average, see at Pfizer. And then I'll close out with some career advice that I think I would have found helpful at the start of my career. So I got my bachelor's degree in biochemistry from Drury University in Springfield, Missouri. When I started undergrad, I was really interested in becoming a physician. So I was pre-med at Drury, and most of my experiences were geared towards making myself as competitive of a medical school applicant as I could. So I was pre-med at Drury. I was in Enactus, which is sort of a community volunteering group that uses entrepreneurial action to kind of better the community or your local community. I also did a lot of clinical volunteering to get as much patient experience as I possibly could. And then I was also in a social fraternity. So that's where I got some leadership experience. I was president there and kind of just did as much activities as I could to try to make myself a well-rounded candidate for medical school. But while I was at Drury University, I did manage to get a summer internship with a really small startup biotech company here in St. Louis. And that's where I worked on the development of antimicrobial susceptibility testing. So BacteriaScan has a medical device that is able to detect UTIs in about 3 hours versus the standard of care at the time was like 24 to 48 hours. So that was kind of my first experience with true research and development. And I actually absolutely loved it. So during this time, I was, applying for medical school and going through all of that, but also at the same time, really enjoying my time in the lab. And it was through that internship that kind of naturally led to me getting a full-time position at BacteriaScan after I graduated Drury. And so then I kind of switched to, again, furthering the capabilities of their medical device that they have. And I was working on gram-positive and gram-negative testing. And it was around this time where I wasn't able to get into medical school. And again, the more time I spent in the lab, the more I enjoyed research. And so I decided I wanted to continue my education and, get even more research experience before fully trying to find a career to start going with. And that's when I ended up enrolling at the University of Michigan, where I ended up getting my master's in biochemistry. So there I was in the Morrissey lab studying antibodies against polyphosphate. So there we were looking at these antibodies that would theoretically be a good substitute for anticoagulants that would inhibit or reduce a patient's ability to clot without, fully inhibiting any clotting ability, which was really fun research. And I really enjoyed my time at the University of Michigan. And that's sort of what ultimately led me to, I wanted to move back to St. Louis. And I found an open position at Pfizer as a process development scientist. And at the time, I was applying for a position in gene therapy. And despite having absolutely no gene therapy experience, I was able to get the job mainly due to my experience with a lot of the machines and equipment that I use now at Pfizer. I was able to use those machines and equipment at the University of Michigan. So that was kind of, I think, my best foot in the door to get that position at Pfizer. So I was in downstream, and at the time I had no idea what downstream meant, or I didn't have any gene therapy experience. But I was worked on gene therapy projects for about a year and a half. And then eventually Pfizer divested all of their gene therapy assets. So I kind of transitioned to working on a couple mRNA projects. So I was working on the COVID and flu vaccine project using mRNA technology. And now I've also kind of switched to working on a bispecific monoclonal antibody. And so those are kind of the projects that I've worked on here at Pfizer. And when I'm not doing project work, I also do a lot of high throughput experiment work. So using automated liquid handlers to kind of speed up experiments, testing more conditions in a more efficient manner. And I do a lot of chromatography and ultrafiltration and diafiltration. So that kind of gives a summary of my education and ultimately my job here at Pfizer. When I was speaking with some of the interns that I have at Pfizer, they mentioned, a good idea of what a day looks like would be helpful. So I thought I'd break down kind of like a work week on average. So there's two kind of categories. There's lab work and office work. I personally really enjoy the lab work category, which mainly consists of project work. So whether I'm generating material for other departments in the organization to use for research, or a lot of times it's process development. So we'll get a process from a small research and development unit, and it's our job to optimize that process and think of issues that we would see when we scale it up to manufacturing, as well as just try to get the best product quality we possibly can. And then a lot of that is also process validation, where we will, validate all of our processes before we send it to manufacturing. And then even more fun is the technology and innovation experiments, is what we call it at Pfizer. And that's where we get to do a lot of the really basic, fundamental research. So we will evaluate new technology that some of our partners have and try to use that in our processes. And we'll also develop our own new technology in-house. So if a need arises and there isn't a commercial partner that we can work with, we'll develop our own technology and use that. And then also, like I mentioned earlier, high throughput efforts. That's what I spend a lot of time on, is working with TCANs, which are the liquid handler robots. So it's really fun to use those and optimize experiments and use as little product as possible and in a really efficient manner, so we can test a whole host of conditions. But as with anything, there is a balance. So there is a fair amount of office work as well. So any fun experiment you get to do is always followed by electronic lab notebook entries to document everything that you've done and learned, as well as presentations. So Pfizer is really focused on presenting your work, your learnings, whether it was positive or negative, to a broad audience across the organization. So there are a lot of presentations that we make for department meetings or project meetings. So the department meetings are more geared toward sharing information across the organization versus, there are a fair amount of project meetings where you're meeting with a small group of people that are all on one project and, working through timelines and deliverables and different challenges that come up. And then finally, there's also report writing. So there's technical reports, which I actually just finished writing up a technical report for a regulatory agency on one of the projects that I'm on. And then there's also IND and BLA writing. So, applying for new drugs to get to the market. And it's not just, the FDA, it's to Health Canada, Health Japan, and a whole host of other regulatory agencies. So there's pretty much everything from lab work to report writing that kind of constitutes a general work week. And people specialize in different areas if they prefer. And then I'll give you some advice. So I think the first one is really hits on adaptability and having an open mind. So as I mentioned earlier, I didn't get into med school, and I kind of found my passion in science through industry. And so being able to pivot is really important. I think it's really rare if people have a perfectly straightforward career path. So being able to pivot and try to figure out different ways that you can apply what you're passionate about really opens up opportunities. I didn't think that I was going to work at a company like Pfizer when I was growing up. I previously had a misconception that, working at a large pharmaceutical company would be, something along the lines of, going into lab, doing one assay every day, and being really good at that and nothing more. And I couldn't have been more wrong. So, being able to pivot is, I think, a really important skill to have. And then also, once you do, whether you get a job in industry or elsewhere, I think this still applies. Lots of companies that I know of have one-on-one meetings with your manager so you can work on personal development and goals and get feedback. And those are valuable. And I've had some great managers at Pfizer, but some of the best advice that I've gotten and most development that I've seen has been with one-on-one meetings with some of my peers or some colleagues that are one or two levels, above me, where you can get different sorts of feedback. And so I think diversifying, your professional development and feedback is really helpful. And then learning when to say no is a skill. So, when you start out your career, you want to find a way to be on a team and contribute as much as possible. And I think once you get to the point where you're established, learning when to say no is definitely a valuable skill to protect your time and be able to deliver what you're committed to. So, and I'll end by saying thank you. And here's my email if you want to look at that and reach out to me. I'm happy to answer any questions for now. And I will, let's see, stop sharing.
Okay. Well,
And
thanks,
I guess we'll get into
Alex.
questions at the end. So thank you.
Yes, we are going to hold all questions to the end. So next we're going to hear from Luisa Andrade.
Hello, I'm going to share my screen. Okay, so let me introduce myself. So I am Luisa Andrade. I am a microbiologist, and I currently work at Science Co, Oil and Gas Solutions, as a senior scientist. So Science Co used to be part of Solvay, which is a Belgian company that makes chemicals for different industries. And last year it divided, and I am in the part with Science School. And I am working and living in Texas, US. But I'm going to go back to the start. I am Brazilian, originally from Rio de Janeiro. And I am going really to the start. So since early, when I remember as a little girl, my favorite topic at school was Portuguese, grammar, literature. Every time the teachers wanted to punish the class with some grammar exercise, I was really happy about that. And then later I developed interest about other languages, also etymology, which I didn't know what it was this name. I liked origin of the words. So these made me think that I would always work with, I always thought that I would work one day with languages, or I don't know, literature, linguistics, something in these lines. But in the end of my, I don't know, maybe elementary school, I'm not sure the divisions, how it would relate to the US, but when I was about 14 years old, and then we moved to secondary school. Before that, I thought that I would continue in the school that I was, but then a friend said, "Oh, you know, I'm going to this school, which is a public school, a very good public school, which is inside of Fundação Oswaldo Cruz, which is a research institute in Brazil, which, that's an international reference for tropical and neglected diseases." And in the beginning, I was like, it's too far from where I live, but this colleague was very enthusiastic about that, and I started to be as well, and the possibility to continue studying with her. So I applied for this school and I entered, and then I didn't know much about the school at that time. But in addition to the formal secondary school training, I was also trained to be a clinical laboratory technician at this school. And at this time, I started to develop the interest for microbiology. So then, when I was around 17, 18 years old, and that question that follows us the whole life, what do you be when you grow up? Then I had to make a decision. I had to apply. I didn't have, but I was expected to apply to university and make this big decision of my life. So I was not sure. Like, I always liked Portuguese literature, languages. I always thought that I would work with that. But now I discovered this new thing, microbiology, that I like. But I wanted to work with microbiology, but I didn't want to study the higher organisms, the biology. So I found out that there was this course in a university in Rio, close to where I lived, only for microbiology. So I applied and I entered to this course in Federal University of Rio de Janeiro. And then there I did my bachelor's degree in biological sciences, focused in microbiology and immunology. And that time I started scientific training on a research laboratory that studied antibiotic resistance in medical microbiology. After that, I continued in the same laboratory where I decided to do my master's degree. I know in the US and in some other countries, it's not common to do masters. Well, that's not common, but many people many people that continue in academia go from bachelor's to PhD. But in Brazil, it's more common to do these steps: bachelor's, master's, and PhD. So in the same university, same institute, I enrolled to the master's in microbiology, continued my studies in the resistance in medical microbiology, antibiotic resistance. And then for my PhD, I was feeling I wanted something different. I wanted to learn something new. So I changed for environmental microbiology, and I did my PhD in crude oil degradation in anaerobic conditions. At that time, so my supervisors were Professor Alexandre Rosado and Professor Regina Domingues. At that time, they were very encouraging their students to do part of the PhD abroad. So I had a chance to go for 1 year to Newcastle University in the UK as a visiting PhD student. And my supervisor was Professor Ian Head, and Case Hubert was a postdoc there at that time. Today he is in Calgary University as a professor. And this changed, I believe this changed the whole direction of my entire life. So just to have an idea, my timeline, I went first as a PhD student to Newcastle University, went back to Brazil to finish the PhD, and then I went back to Newcastle to do a postdoc funded by the Brazilian government. For this reason, I had to go back to Brazil after the postdoc. And then I worked as a project support officer in the National Institute of Technology in Brazil. And then I went back to Newcastle to the same group with Professor Ian Head from 2016 to 2019. And I worked in several roles when I was there at that time. So I just wanted to pause my career timeline to emphasize the importance of good mentors, because they will bring many good things to your life, and I try to highlight some. So they will call your attention for good opportunities, maybe things that you don't even see as an opportunity. They will let you know, encourage you. They will be the people who will write the reference letters in the future when you apply for jobs. They are a source of precious advice, and I cannot see up. And of course, they will encourage your best version. So I'm not going through all of them, but I will just give some examples of opportunities, for example. Professor Ian Head, I remember the first year that I was working with him, I saw that he encouraged all his students and postdocs to go to conferences. And I remember one day I heard him saying, you have to go to conferences because and attend and participate and be seen, because you never know, maybe one day someone from a conference will give you a job. So they encourage networking and lifetime opportunities. And here I show a photo of a field trip that I did to the Arctic in 2019 that I initially didn't want to go. And then Professor Ian Head was not accepting that. He said, you will go, and there is no discussion, and you will be very grateful to me in the future. And he was right. It was a lifetime experience. So regarding precious advices. For example, as I said, Professor Ian had said that when we go to conferences and meet people, we might have a chance to have a job one day coming from that. Also, I have another example that was Professor Case Hubert, that I was in a conference in London, a conference that I used to go every year when I was in Newcastle. And the first time we all people from Newcastle together, and then Casey said, please, I don't want to see people from Newcastle together, separate and meet new people, because that's why we are here. And that's how I met Renato De Paula, who is a business development manager in Science School where I work today, and it's not a coincidence. Renato, I met him in this conference. We met in several other conferences after. And then when he knew that I moved to Houston, and he heard about a job opportunity and in his company, then he reached out to me and voted for me in the conference. So just to complete the career trajectory, just before I joined Science School, I worked briefly in a startup company, and that job, the person that found me on LinkedIn. So it's important also to have a good profile tailored in LinkedIn for what you want to be seen and to be found, because maybe your next job might be through that as well. And just my day-to-day. So I support, I am in the helping with, I'm not a chemist, but I am working in the chemical sector. So I provide support to the business team with tests to compare our biocides, because so there are some microorganisms that cause problems in the oil and gas industry. So we make biocides to kill them. And then I make tests to provide support for the business teams to the customers. I participate in research and innovation projects on alternatives to control microbial growth. And I am currently establishing molecular biology techniques in the lab. I am also participating of the safety committee as a side thing, and I started to with my interest for sustainability, I started to also try to apply some sustainability, implement some sustainability actions in my site. So now I'm a sustainability champion as well. And just some take-home messages, connect, network, ask for mentorship, what Alex said before, one-to-one meetings with people that are not of course, with your managers, but also with peers or even people you don't know. Reach out on LinkedIn, someone that you admire, that inspires you, that has a career trajectory that maybe is something you would like to get more, to know more. People like to talk about themselves, so ask for some time to talk. Keep time to maintain a network. Be flexible, be open. We never know what can happen. And if you find other interests and niches that you can learn and contribute, maybe next jobs, you never know, might value you for those little things. So yeah, that's it. Sorry, I don't know if I went.
You're just about on time, Louisa, so don't worry about it. All right, well, thank you, Louisa. That was really interesting. And our final speaker today is Marjan Hashimi.
Hi, everyone. I'm Marjan, and I'm very excited about being in this session today, sharing my experience and my career path with you. So I'm going to share my screen, and let me make sure you have access. Okay, can you see my screen, guys?
Not yet.
How about now?
There it is, yes.
Okay, perfect. And let me put it on the presenter mode. Okay, cool. So I prepared two slides for you. It's a little bit wordy if you are actually trying to make some slides for like work or job interview. Do not do like this. This is just like for the purpose of this session. I tried to make it more like fun, including more pictures and everything. So I hope you enjoy it. So just a little bit about myself. I was born and grew up in Iran. I'm Persian. I speak my native language is Farsi, and I grew up in Tehran. It's the capital of Iran. I just like put a couple of pictures of Tehran from like 4 seasons, like spring, summer, fall, and winter. And the reason is a lot of time when I say I'm from Iran, people say things they get confused with like some other Middle East countries, and they always think that it's like all desert and like a desert completely. But no, we have 4 seasons, and it's a very beautiful city. We always have snow, yeah, during the like winter, and one of my actually hobbies is doing ski. So there are a lot of beautiful ski resorts in Tehran. And some of my hobbies are traveling, like cooking, and of course, reading books. I have a pet. His name is Cookie. You see his picture in here. So this is from last week. It was his 4th birthday, actually. And this is a picture of him. The first time I had him wearing a cloth, he was very mad at me. So he didn't like it. So I just removed it, took it off. So, okay, so actually he's Persian too. He's a Persian cat. He came with me from Iran, all the way from there to here. So a little bit about my education. I did my bachelor and master degree in food science. Actually, my resume is very like diverse in different like research area. So I started with food science, focused on food chemistry and food microbiology. I did it in Shiraz University. Shiraz University is one of the good universities in Iran. It's in south of Iran, and my research was actually focused on a natural food preservative. Specifically, what I did, I was developing a conjugate of a natural preservative, which you may know, lysozyme. And I actually conjugate that through a Maillard reaction with a hydrocarbohydrate, with a like a kind of like a gum. It's called actually Arabic gum, to improve its functional properties and specifically antimicrobial activity. And then after evaluating those type of properties, I applied it in a food system, which was actually mayonnaise, to evaluate the antimicrobial activity of that natural preservative, and also to make sure it actually satisfied the texture and the rheological properties from a consumer standpoint. Then after I finished my master degree, I actually immigrated to the US for basically to go to grad school. And I went to Brigham Young University in Utah. And I started my PhD actually in biochemistry. And actually a cool fact about my PhD time is that my degree was in biochemistry. I joined a research lab, which was actually expertise in organic chemistry, but my research was focused in microbiology. So it's a combination of everything. So here I put just like a picture of the campus. It has a very, very beautiful campus with like the view of the mountains everywhere. And during my PhD, I was participating in a lot of conferences, and I highly recommend to take any opportunities to go to any conference and share your data, try to like network with people from both academic and industry. It is a very, very good, I would say, place to practice what you learned and actually looking for what you want for your future. So I learned a lot from those conferences, and I found a lot of good networking, and it was very useful for me. And another cool fact about my my PhD, actually, specifically when I was doing my research, was I was working with a lot of undergrad students. I was leading, I remember it was a semester that I had 9 undergrad students at the same semester, that I was actually leading them all together. And they were all very, very intelligent students, because they were all hardworking, trying to go to med school with very good resumes. So I was also helping them to build up their resume, and I actually helped them with like recommendation letter for med school. And that was really fun for me to work with a lot of undergrad students, and it actually was very, very challenging, but it actually taught me how to do time management, because I was a little bit struggling in that, but like managing 9 undergrad students in the lab at the same time was like very challenging, but I'm grateful for that opportunity, because I learned a lot in terms of like the time management. Specifically about my research, I was working on a novel class of antimicrobial agents called serogenins. That was actually my advisor's patent. And because, as I told, he was an organic chemistry, so the serogenin is like mimicking of natural antimicrobial agents, like antimicrobial peptides. So I was trying to do research on antimicrobial properties of that specific antimicrobial agent, working with both gram-positive and gram-negative bacteria, and finding the application of this specific antimicrobial in some medical devices like endotracheal tubes. And I was able to publish a lot of papers during my PhD, because my advisor was giving me this advice to like juggle all the time. So this is like just like the symbol for that, juggling. So I was working at the same time on like more than 3 or 4 different projects. So, and that's why I was really successful in publishing a lot of papers. And I'm actually emphasizing on that for you. I'm not sure how many international students are in the audience, but as an international student with a student visa, those publications actually helped me a lot, because I was able to apply for my green card through a specific category, which is called NIW, National Interest Waiver. And that was actually very useful for me. So if there is any like international student who would like to learn more about like that path, feel free to reach out to me. I'm not sponsoring any law firm or any attorney. It's just like to let you know that there is a path for people who are interested in like applying for a green card through the research. And that is about my research during my PhD. I also did an internship in a local company very close to the campus that I was working. It's called Analytical Resource Laboratory. And I just like proactively reached out to them, and they gave me the opportunity to work in their lab. I wasn't even like get paid. It was just like voluntarily working, but I wanted to have that experience, because I didn't have any experience of working in the industry in the US. So that's why I wanted to know like how it looks like, and I experience it myself before I decide where I'm going to go. And after I graduated from grad school, I really didn't know like if I'm gonna go to academia or if I'm gonna go to industry. So I was actually applying for both positions, like both industry and academic positions. And I actually ended up with like an academic position, a postdoc at Stanford University. And because I always wanted to experience going to a very good school like Stanford. So I actually got excited about the opportunity and I started my postdoc at Stanford University. So I was working in emergency medical group. And actually my advisor was a physician, so who was working in both hospital and in research lab. And so I started working on mainly molecular biology and microbiology. I developed a new method for rapid pathogen detection and antimicrobial resistant marker using like some techniques like NGS and PCR. And specifically, I was working on a bacteria named Neisseria gonorrhea. And I was able to publish a couple of publications out of this work as well. This is a picture of me working in that lab. And this is actually a group picture of some Stanford postdoc. Actually, there was an opportunity for me to do a teaching course for students in Brazil. So that was actually an international program that I participated. So it was just like a couple of weeks of teaching in Brazil. So I really had really good time over there with the students. So that was a very good experience in terms of like teaching experience for me. So I highly recommend if you get like any opportunity like this, you want to use that. So that will be very helpful for you. And at the end of my postdoc, actually, when I was coming back from this trip from Brazil, in the airport, I noticed that officers in the airport wearing a mask. And I was asking what's happening. They were like, oh, there is a new virus, actually, that is very like pandemic. And then that was actually when COVID started. So, and when I came back, as I mentioned, my advisor was working with Stanford Hospital. So we started actually a project, a very challenging project on COVID. So we had to work with COVID patient sample based, literally like clinical samples. And it was very stressful, because that was actually the beginning of the pandemic. We didn't know anything about this virus, and it was really hard. So, but that project went very successful as well. We could publish some papers on that. And I like always like enjoy the memories of my postdoc at Stanford. And I always keep to be in touch with Stanford alumni. So this is a picture of like one of the events that Stanford had with like for us as like graduated people. So after that, actually, I got an offer from Clorox company. The way that I found that was like I wasn't actively looking for positions, but I knew a people from like one of the conferences that I attended who was working in this company. Actually, he reached out to me and he told me, hey, I remember in that conference you were like reaching out. So are you looking for a position? And then I was like, yes, why not? So then I just like went through the job description and I found it actually a very good match and fit for me. So I applied and I got the offer. So I started my position at Clorox as a scientist too, microbiologist. So I started working with their microbiology team, working on antimicrobial method development, specifically high throughput screening. Also working, mentoring some summer interns and also leading junior staffs in the lab. Then about 1 year after that, I got promoted to senior sci, and this is a position that I'm still working, and I'm mainly leading some discovery projects, and like I'm still attending some conferences that are related to my work. For example, this picture here is like one of the like related conferences for my work, a CPA, a Household Commercial Product Association. And this is a picture of me with like some Colorax leaders. I actually won the award for the scientists last year. And this is like a group picture of people with like Colorax sweatshirt. And actually what I love about Colorax is like the diversity, and they are actually supporting IDEA. IDEA is inclusion, diversity, equity, and allyship. So they are supporting different culture and different ideas. And this last picture is actually one of the events that I led this March. So as an Iranian employee, we always celebrate our new year with a starting spring in March. So I actually hold this event for Colorax to just like make them familiar with my culture, with a celebration called Nowruz, which is actually the new year in Persia. So
Marjan, I'm gonna have to interrupt. We have to wrap up and get started on the Q&A here.
I'm done actually.
Okay.
Yes, yeah, that was it. Yes, yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much to all of our speakers, and happy birthday to Cookie. I'm sure everyone is wants to send him birthday wishes.